House of Representatives probes Nigeria's daily consumption of premium motor spirit. House summons oil company over 1% remittance to the Nigeria Content Development and Monitoring. And third anniversary special, we continue our conversation with House Leader Alhassan Doguwa on strides of the Ninth House. It's a pleasure to have you join us again on You and Your Reps. On this edition of the program, we continue our conversation with House Leader Alhassan Doguwa on the achievements of the Ninth House in commemoration of his third anniversary. Welcome. I am Victor Azul. Leadership of the House of Representatives has described as unacceptable the nonchalant attitude of some heads of government agencies to appear at investigative hearings, especially in relation to the economy. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that it was during an investigative hearing to ascertain the actual daily consumption of premium motor spirit in Nigeria.
The lingering fuel scarcity and controversy surrounding huge sums paid by the federal government as subsidy are some of the issues that necessitated this engagement between the House of Representatives on the one hand and key stakeholders on the other. Most heads of government agencies were absent, while others sent representatives to the hearing.
Organizations that are saddled with the responsibility of managing a critical assignment like the distribution and accounting for the distributed and sold PMS in this country will be reluctant to come here to do their duties. The topic for this investigation is a very controversial issue. Nigerians don't know how much fuel we are consuming that warrants the payment of such humongous amounts.
The House, in its wisdom, has mandated this ad hoc committee not to restrict its investigation to only the state actors, but also to other critical stakeholders such as the experts, unions, trade associations, and members of the general public.
The committee wants to know the details of daily consumption volume of PMS in Nigeria.
Consumption means what is dispensed at the nozzle. How do you plus or minus those products that are diverted? How do you segment, for instance, without road safety and NBS collaboration, how many vehicles, for instance, do we even have in Nigeria that is PMS powered?
The agencies were asked to submit more documents as the committee stresses that deployment of technology in the value chain may be the best option to address the matter.
Meanwhile, the House Committee on Nigeria Content Development and Monitoring wants companies under its purview to appear before it over default of 1% remittances to the Nigeria Content Development and Monitoring Board. Now, this followed a no-show act of some companies invited to an investigative hearing in Abuja. John Yaku has the details.
Nigeria Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2010 provides for a 1% remittance to the Nigerian Content Development Monitoring by some companies to increase local capacity and knowledge transfer within the oil and gas industry. Reported failure to comply with this provision formed this investigative hearing by the House of Representatives Committee overseeing the sector. Only 4 out of 8 companies invited appeared, which made the chairman of the committee, Lego Edagbo, to issue the ultimatum, noting that the intent of the act will be defeated if the 1% remittances of the contract awarded for project operation, activity or transaction in the upstream sector of the Nigerian oil and gas industry is not complied with.
Matter of fact, some of these companies have collected these deductions from their subcontractors and have failed to remit same to NCDMB. So you cannot be doing your business in Nigeria and fail to remit what you're meant to remit to NCDMB. If we continue like this, how do we encourage our local contractors? How does NCDMB meet their goals? How does NCDMB succeed in encouraging local contractors to thrive?
On the Legislative Terms and Tools segment this week, we take a look at subcommittees. Let's get an explanation from the Chairman House Committee on Rules and Business, Abubakar Fulata.
The House, for example, has over 100 standing committees. Under our rules, such a standing committee can still go ahead and set up subcommittees to assist the main committee to do its work. So you divide the work into smaller, members of the committee can now divide themselves into smaller groups with a particular assignment and mandate to report back to the main committee at a particular time. Those smaller committees are called subcommittees.
Still on the third anniversary of the House of Representatives, you and your reps went to town to find out what legislative interventions the people would like to see in the last 1 year of the Ninth House.
What they can do better is to put more effort by providing proactive legislation to control the security system. They give a new security architecture that will truly give way for a successful end to insecurity in the country.
I think the Ninth Assembly, they have talked issue of security, they have issue of the judiciary, but that issue of security, they must have to look into policing affair, because if you look at it, the police has been relegated from their own primary duties. Today, anywhere you see, like even the election coming out, you'll be seeing soldiers everywhere in the town, which is not supposed to be like that.
You know, you have to leave a legacy behind. I think they are working on this, one of the bills I just mentioned now, the Electoral Offences Tribunal. I think if they are able to, if they can wrap it up and then it's assented, so at least it will create, it will be like a landmark, just like the Electoral Act 2020 is like a landmark legislation. So it will be like a landmark legislation. And then the several other bills that are pending that will affect the social well-being of the people, I think they should just implement it and listen more to the people. You know, some of them may not be coming back. Listen more to the people, push the agenda of your people.
We are expecting some proactive legislations. Like there are some bills that still have to do with social security. There are also bills that we expect to curb the security situation in the country, which everybody knows about. The security situation in the country is very, very deplorable. So we need proactive legislations. We need proactive legislations to curb these issues of kidnapping, banditry, and of course corruption too. These are some of the predominant issues in our polity.
And last time, we began a conversation with Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, Alhassan Doguwa. On this edition, we conclude that interview with talks about legislature-executive relationship and plans for the next 1 year, among others.
The anti-graft agencies are there. The ICPC is there. The EFCC is also there. they have all the right, they have all the responsibility in them to go over these programs through the agencies of government that will execute projects. When they have any problem, I don't think it's even the member that will be answerable to any problem in terms of execution of government projects. It should be the agencies that undertake such projects. Because at no point in time will a member be involved in any procurement process or any procurement procedure. He is only involved at the initial foundational level where he will be asked to simply give locations. So constituency projects is another achievement. The Ninth House of Representatives, I want to say without any fear of contradiction, it still stands out amongst all other sessions of the House of Representatives in the area of responsiveness and taking responsibility. This is one only house in the life of the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria when, if there is a problem, any problem, for instance, petroleum shortages, queues on the line, crisis in the NNPC, crisis in the power sector. This is one house under the leadership of Femi Bajabiamila that has always come calling that what's the problem? Let's put hands together and solve it. Sometimes we call players in the sector, like in the case of petroleum sector, for instance, we call the NNPC, the Ministry for Petroleum Resources, and sometimes we also have to compare notes with the government of the day. How do we resolve this issue? You can remember only recently, we had issues with what we call aviation fuel. Airline operators in the country almost shut down. Operations were made very difficult. The lives and security of our people who are air travelers became very precarious. And at that point, it was only the House of Representatives under Speaker Femi Bajabiamila that came calling because we felt we are responsible. We felt we must be responsive. And I want to tell you, the resolutions and the problems we had resolved about aviation system in Nigeria was the brainchild of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives took several motions on the floor, invited several chief executives of airlines to see how we can resolve problems. There is also this issue of what you call legislative diplomacy. It has never happened. I started right from the Third Republic session of the House of Reps in 1992. And I've been back severally, like I've told you, served with more than 6 speakers of the House of Representatives. This is one only time under the watch of the 9th House of Representatives Speaker that we came up with what you call legislative diplomacy. In those days, diplomacy was always about government, Mr. President, Vice President, and the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is one time very special in the history of Nigeria's legislature that Femi Bajabiamila came up with the way to develop relationships with government outside Nigeria, with parliaments outside Nigeria, when things come up that will affect Nigeria. A very typical example was the case of the Ukraine, the war that is going on in Ukraine and Russia. It was the House of Representatives that came first and took the initiative, liaised with the government promptly, liaised with the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the mandate of the House with a very vibrant and robust motion taken and passed that needed immediate action. I, on the mandate of the House and the directive of the Speaker, led the House team to Ukraine, led the House team to the borders of Poland, because what we did was to go to border points and pick our stranded students that were trapped there as a result of the war. And I have to also mention, with all sense of sincerity and commendation, to some of our airlines as patriotic Nigerians, even though they were into business, but nobody gave them a kobo. They were only committed by way of maybe an award of contract. Please come and help Nigerians, students that are out there, were outside, trapped in a war zone. And they all came and did their best. At the end, I believe they were all sorted out. But if a businessman could come out of patriotism to deliver services that were not ab initio paid, I think he has also paid his dues. So these are some of the things that we do very differently. Even the teeth and the tongue that are always concealed in the mouth will have cause to quarrel. We did not quarrel in this case. It was like we were trying to discharge our duties as legislators, and the government on the other part had reasons why they took the action they took. But at the end, as far as I'm concerned, it will only portray what you call democracy in action. And that also, that one case out can also convince you and convince Nigerians that the concept or the normal perception of the house being a rubber stamp does not hold. Because at least in one case in time or one point in history, at least we have disagreed with ourselves, all in the discharge of our basic responsibilities as players in one democratic system. It was not a fight as far as I'm concerned. We had a position and they had a position. Honestly, I cannot run away from the fact that most of the issues that came up about the Electoral Act, especially this section 84.8, it was all about what actually transpired or happened during the primaries. So many of our members got angry. So many of our members were discharged by the chief executive of their states politically. When a member went back home, was expecting to be re-elected, to have his ticket of his own political party. We went round, most of the governors told them the need for us to have what we call institutional memory. Let's retain as much as possible the number of members that will come to represent their people from the various sub-nationals, from the state level. This did not work in many places. And on that note, members came back to the house angry. And therefore, they had to do certain things that will now maybe create what you call like a soft landing. And at the end, we differed. Whatever the case might be, I want to believe that Mr. President did not have anything against the system and also did not have anything against the House of Representatives of the National Assembly. We too, that acted the way we did, we only felt we were trying to promote and entrench best practices, how best we can deepen democratic best practices. That was our intention. It was well intended. And we felt allowing statutory delegates to work or allowing statutory delegates to participate in the primaries of the elective office holders of their respective party was not only traditional, it is incumbent. It is incumbent upon them. And it happens all over the globe. It's not peculiar in Nigerian case. Why would you, for God's sake, imagine Mr. President, who is the commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, and the #1 citizen that belongs to his political party will go to the Eagle Square, just sit down and watch other delegates electing his successor without his vote counting. It had never happened. I want to say honestly, what had happened with the refusal of Mr. President to sign the Electoral Act, I think was a system oversight. It was a system oversight. And I think we will continue to reach out to Mr. President to see reasons, even though it had happened in this case, to see reason to really accent to this bill. And if he still feels that he does not want to accent to this bill, the bill can be recalled back to the floor of the House. And if upon consideration and review of the situation of the Nigerian system, the members of the House of Representatives and the Senate feel they are going ahead to ensure that this thing prevails, then you know what it means. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria had accorded the National Assembly the right to veto Mr. President. And I think it wouldn't be an issue, it wouldn't be a problem if in this case the National Assembly decides to veto Mr. President to ensure this very important provision of the Electoral Act holds sway. The judiciary is one key component of the democratic system we operate. The executive also is, of course, is the lead arm of government. The legislature follows and the judiciary. So if by the judgment recently granted by the Supreme Court, then it means the House of Representatives or the National Assembly, as it is today, is been vindicated. Is vindicated if the legislature and the judiciary could now fall on same page on a matter that only executive arm of government, or the president in this case, without missing words, could now stand alone or stands differently, then definitely two of the systemic arms of government will definitely prevail on the position of Mr. President. That is why I said the National Assembly members, the Senate and the House of Representatives are now under moral obligation to exercise this singular responsibility of ours to veto Mr. President in this regard and ensure that these legislations holds sway and it stands because it's not going to harm anyone. And it is also clearly stated in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that political parties, registered political parties, are to take charge, arrange, and discharge the affairs of conduct their primaries. They have been given that role and responsibility in the Constitution. And part of what parties are expected to do to conduct their affairs and businesses of internal democracy is to have their own constitution. I want to tell you today that the constitution of each and every political party in Nigeria today contains this provision that elected office holders should form as members of the National Convention for the election of their presidential flag bearer as statutory delegates. So what happened in this controversy at the end is like it has negated a major and very fundamental provision of the Constitution. It has also undermined the Constitution of the different political parties we have in Nigeria because such provisions was there. The provision has been protected, further protected by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I think the last year for every assembly, reasonably, is for us to concentrate on consolidation, tidying up, to see that what we have achieved so far at the end is translated into reality. Reality in the sense that we have these laws as facts on ground, document them, gazette those to be gazetted, those that have not been assented to Mr. President, we reconsider them, review them, go back to Mr. President, lobby him, and ensure that such laws are also assented to. If it becomes unavoidable where he refuses assent, then we apply the same method. That is why there is always a working document, and this working document is nothing but the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to assure Nigerians, except where we have very special cases emerging, where we have special matters arising, I think the House of Representatives and the National Assembly by extension, I think we've done about 90% of what is expected to do as a session. Where we have special cases emerging, especially the issues of security, the issue of some of our finances in the agencies of government, where you have budget signed to law, and you find agencies of government taking it for a ride. Definitely we have to work on that. I think what is left for the House of Representatives now, in the remaining month we have to clear, will border on the issue of these incessant security problems in the country. We will definitely encourage our committees, relevant committees, Army, Police, Navy, Air Force, security-related committees must be charged to be up and doing in the area of the discharge of their major fundamental legislative responsibility, which is oversight. Oversight will now be strengthened through the committees. And where need be, I want to tell you, as leader of the House of Representatives, and as leader, you know, I'm in charge of the supervision of all standing and special committees. Special, standing, and ad hoc committees are under this office. And just like they are allowed or they are charged with the responsibility of oversight, this office of the leader of the House of Representatives has the duty to also oversight committee activities, where we find committees reneging in their primary assignment to oversight agencies of government to make things work. I will take over the responsibility of that committee to oversight agencies of government directly, especially in the area of security. Our security agencies must be up and doing. Minister of Defense must also rise to the challenges we are facing. We can't keep on here waiting. Our constituents, our people are dying on the street. Some of them are killed in schools. Some of them are chased to the places of worship. Some of them are even killed on their beds in the bedroom. It has become so alarming, my brother. No one of us as a member of the House of Representatives takes lightly this issue of security. So with the remaining month we have, it's going to be work, and work again to ensure that everyone in Nigeria sleeps with his two eyes closed. Otherwise, we'll be charged as if we are reneging in our responsibility. And we'll also continue to keep on following up with agencies of government, ministries, to ensure Appropriation Act, which is a bill, which is a law, is followed from the beginning till end. So in a nutshell, and in one simple or single sentence statement, that the House for the remaining month we have ahead will only be faced with major duty of oversight to ensure things work for Nigerians.
Indeed, security is crucial to other development efforts, and we do wish the Ninth House the best in the last 1 year of its tenure. That's been You and Your Reps. Thanks for your time. I am Victor Azu. Join us again.